Neil Gaiman. Vamos direto a um assunto que eu imagino que muita gente está ansiosa por ele, que é Sandman. Essa série de livros que, enfim, chacoalhou o mundo dos comics, né, dos quadrinhos. Eu queria que você nos dissesse, quem conhece Sandman, eu fico muito curioso para entender como é o seu processo de colaboração com os ilustradores, né, que são vários, inclusive. Cada livro tem 3 ilustradores, você tem um cara que sempre faz a capa, Dave McKean, e eu fico muito curioso para entender como é o processo de se chegar naquela forma, né? Porque várias páginas a gente acompanha, é uma história visual com poucos diálogos, como a gente estava conversando agora. Então eu queria saber, enfim, como que funciona a colaboração? Se você faz storyboard, por exemplo, porque para mim tão importante quanto as palavras é a fluidez da narrativa cinematográfica, ou enfim, uma narrativa visual é tão importante quanto as palavras.
Okay, what I always did, which was what I learned from Alan Moore. I was very fortunate. I wanted to write comics, and I spoke to Alan Moore, and I said, "Show me how you write a script." And he did, and that was really the technique that I took from there into writing Sandman. And it's not like a movie script, and it's not like theatre. It is very much its own thing, because you are simply writing a letter to the artist. Somebody else is going to draw this. So what I do is I sit down and I write page 1, panel 1. Actually, before I do that, I fold over a piece of paper so that I have 24 pieces of paper, each of which will be a page, and I can see where the folds go. I know when I'm going to be turning the page, which is incredibly important. It's absolutely unimportant writing a novel to know when anybody is going to turn the page, but in comics it's the most important thing. When I was writing Sandman, I would drive my poor editors mad by insisting on knowing where the adverts were going to go. Just because I knew that when you got an ad break, it reversed the order of when the pages got turned and things like that. So you would write page 1, panel 1, and then you would describe it. You would say there are 3 people up on a stage, and behind them you have the fish, and you have the giant screens, and you have the audience, and you know, in the middle is a nervous-looking middle-aged man with a beard, and he is saying, and then you put Neil Gaiman, and you put the words that he's saying, and if something is exploding, you put a bang down there as well. What you're doing is simply giving the artist, panel by panel, page by page, image by image, all of the information that he could possibly need, and sometimes you're going to be sending books and photos. Sometimes, one of the things I always tried to do was make it very clear to the artist that if he could see a better way of doing something, he should go with it. That it was, that I would give him something that would work, but if he wanted to take a shot from somewhere else or something, he should.
But you come to the point to draw, to make a storyboard?
I wouldn't. I would always draw them, and I would never show them to the artist.
Yeah.
I would sit there and very carefully draw it all out so that I could be sure that whatever I was telling the artist to draw could be drawn. So even if I'm doing it with stick figures or little doodles, I'm completely, I would always want to know that it could be drawn. But the other thing is I would also drive my editors mad by refusing to start writing until I knew who was drawing it. Because I would always try and draw to the strengths of whatever artist I had. And that would make me look good.
And what about the characters? Desire, for instance, it's very clear character. You come to the point to discuss details, visual details of the character?
Sure. And sometimes I would find photographs. And sometimes I would even draw very badly when it was bringing on a character. And sometimes the artist would rightly ignore everything I said. Probably the most iconic character I have ever created is Death. And Death looks nothing like how I expected her to look. When I did the initial descriptions of the characters, I thought of Death as being inspired by Nico, the young Nico from the Velvet Underground. And I thought, okay, very ice blonde, great cheekbones, and my friend Mike Dringenberg had a friend called Cinnamon, and he said, no, 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 Death should be her. And he did me a drawing and sent it. And I went, okay, that's Death.
And how do you choose the artist? How you pick the illustrators?
You choose artists by luck and by meeting people and by sometimes people sending art into your editor, and sometimes I would decide that I would base an entire storyline around the fact that I had an artist and I liked them. Jill Thompson, who did the Brief Live storyline, is still embarrassed about the way that I found her, because it was 1991 at the San Diego Comic Convention, and there was a guy at the San Diego Comic Convention who was going around to artists getting them to draw comic characters that he liked naked. All female comic characters. So he had a sketchbook with a naked Supergirl and a naked Batman, a Batgirl, and things like that. And he came up to me and said, I just got Jill Thompson to draw Death naked. Will you sign it? And I signed it. I looked at it and went, she's good. And about later that afternoon, I'm still signing comics, and I look up and there's a girl, and her badge says Jill Thompson. And I said, you drew Death naked. And she turned strawberry color. I mean, she is a redhead anyway with incredibly pale skin, so she just bright red. And she's going, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, no, it was really good. Do you want to draw Sandman? And she's going, whoa, 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 whoa. So that was how Jill Thompson got Brief Lives. She still, if you ask her about it, she still turns red.
Obrigado.